Bring it back.
Hi guys, what's going on? I'm Evo and today we are back with another episode of Total War Arena. So today we're going to be having a look at the Tier 4 Barbarian Cavalry the Brigands. So I've recently unlocked these units and I've played a few battles with them. I've been using the General Arminius. So let's take a quick look at the units and have a look at some of their stats before we jump into a battle. So mine aren't yet fully researched. I need to play a few more battles before I start to unlock some of the other components. But this is the first sort of cavalry in the Barbarian tree, where you start to get a bit of a choice about how you want to play them. The tier 1 to 3, the scouts and the raiders, are all very fast, very lightly armoured units, which make use of speed to flank and charge to do the damage. But when they get involved in any sort of heavy combat, they really start to struggle, and that's where they fall down. But with the Brigands, you start to get a choice of whether you want to keep that sort of lightweight skirmishing ability by using things like the war paint, doing without any armour at all, which gives a good movement speed bonus. Also gives a little bit of melee defence, but the main thing is trying to keep that speed up. Or you get the option to upgrade to sort of like a basic chainmail armour for the people, where you lose the speed bonus, but you get much more armour and better defence. So this is going to have a bit of a better chance at surviving in sort of close combat. So this is sort of pushing them a bit more towards like the style of Legion cavalry compared to like the fast charging of the Greek cavalry. So if we go and have a little bit of a look at the stats compared to the tier 3, we'll see they're looking pretty good. The actual movement speed is quicker, I believe, than the tier 3 if we flick over to the raiders. Yeah, so they actually go a little bit quicker in terms of their movement speed. If we flick back, yes, you'll see this is 8 compared to 7.9. Their view range is pretty good once you've got the upgraded helmet, and everything else, acceleration, turn speed, movement, is all very good. It makes them one of the fastest cavalry in the game, certainly quicker than the much slower Legion cavalry, and gives you quite a few options if you want to charge in, flank, try and reach the enemy archers or the enemy artillery. Obviously their survivability isn't great, pretty good morale actually, but the actual body armour and their melee defence is not great. And as with the tier 1 to 3 Barbarian Cavalry, they sort of sit in the middle of the road in terms sort of their usability. As I think I've said in previous videos, the Legion Cavalry are sort of the slow, heavy cavalry, which don't have a great charge, but once they get embroiled in a fight, they're pretty good. And they'll hold their own, particularly if they're against any missile unit, they'll absolutely decimate them. And they can hold their own if they push into the back of a phalanx, something like that as well. The Barbarian Cavalry that we're using are sort of the middle of the road. They've got quite a powerful charge, and they'll hang on for a bit in prolonged fights, and they'll be okay against missile units. But anything else, if they get involved in a battle, they'll start to struggle pretty quickly. And the Greek Cavalry, which are sort of pretty quick and have a very, very, very good charge, but once they get in at close range, they completely lose sort of all their abilities to do anything useful. So we've also had released the update 2.3, which has obviously added things like these little game tips, changed the matchmaking look slightly, and they should be game tips specific to the type of unit you are playing. So here we go. It's providing a cavalry tip saying trying to avoid engaging heavy melee units, but flank round and engage the enemy missile units or the enemy artillery. They have introduced a cap on the commander's abilities. So if you're playing with tier 3 units, but your commander is tier 8, you'll no longer be able to take advantage of those higher tier abilities. So you won't be able to use a tier 5 ability with only tier 3 or tier 4 units. So it's to stop the players who've been playing a long time jumping into very low tier games and sort of being able to take advantage of players who don't really know what they're doing. And so I think that's a good improvement overall. Although it doesn't prohibit those higher tier upgrades of specific abilities. So if you're in the cavalry as the Barbarians, for example, I have the momentum ability, which increases my speed, increases my charge, etc. That's a tier 1 ability, so I'll always be able to use that, even if I've got it fully upgraded to tier 10. So it does give you some advantage from having a high tier general in lower tier battles. But that's something that they may change in future patches, but they just don't want to at the moment because They don't want to overchange things and nerf things too heavily. We need to find, they encounter problems later on. So, we'll skip ahead and I shall see you in the battle. So, we are loading in on Alpes Gracia, which is obviously the Alps, with our Brigands. So, I'm not all that familiar with this map. I've only played it a couple of times. So I'm going to sort of adopt a fairly defensive position on one of the flanks. We're doing pretty well for tiering. We're largely top tier, mostly tier 3s on the rest of the team, a few of the tier 4s as well. Sort of relatively infantry orientated with a good number of archers, so hopefully we'll see a similar setup on the other team. Got some of the cavalry in front of us. I don't want to be too reliant with other cavalry. I'd rather be sort of set up with other infantry, really. We'll make a bit of a push forwards at the start, probably getting cover behind this little sort of rocky berm here. We've got a number of artillery on our team, so it's quite likely that the enemy are going to have artillery as well. So let's get cover around here. Ooh, some enemy cavalry pushing straight up. Enemy brigands as well. They're playing quite a bold strategy there. So we've got friendly infantry down below on the hill. The fact that their cavalry took such a bold move to come straight up and capture the outcrop sort of says to me that they probably got artillery in their team. Because to be prepared to come... There we go. Hopefully give a little bit of an insight into our friendly artillery. There's quite a few archers down on the floor below. But we don't know if there are yet any enemy infantry around with them. So I don't want to charge down completely yet. Just in case. Some... that's enemy catapult. I'm going to push down onto this road below down here. See what I can see. Let's enter momentum mode. We have some friendly raiders which seem to be adopting a similar tactic, or heading in that direction anyway. There are enemy cavalry loitering around at the back, which is going to make it kind of hard to commit to a strike on anything, such as these archers here. But it would be quite nice if we could get in as these archers. It depends how alert these enemy cavalry are being. I'll say very. Yeah, sort of got ourselves caught into a bit of a bad spot here. I'm going to activate charge to try and quickly get out of range as quickly as possible. Taking very heavy damage from the enemy archers, which is unfortunate. Although it looks like our friendly cavalry has managed to find the way in, found the door. And they're hopefully going to drive in the enemy archers from the field. It looks like the friendly Roman infantry have realised and are trying to sort of pull back, but it's far too late for them to actually do anything. So I'm going to try and get in amongst the archers as quickly as possible as well. We'll go for these ones. We've got to be wary of the enemy pikemen inbound. So let's break off from that fight and push back down into this other mass grouping of archers. The enemy cavalry have arrived there, look. And we have got our charge bonus back. So I'm going to try and utilise this on the enemy cavalry. We go, activate the charge. I'm going to activate then kick to try and get a reasonable amount of damage. We caused very heavy casualties on the enemy archers. We might have really won this game with that one, or our ally won that game. Basically, that tier 3 friendly cavalry just basically wiped out the bulk of their archers in that one move. That was extremely effective. So it's all sort of turned into a bit of a melee here in the middle. So we know there's enemy artillery. So considering all hell has sort of broken loose out here in the centre, I may make a push for the back and see what I can see. I would expect the enemy artillery to position sort of around one of these outcuts around here. They may have a heavy infantry unit with them, they often do, and that will sort of make it nigh on impossible for me to really get in. But we can have a look, you never know, and they might not be expecting me to turn up. I'd have thought it would likely to be on this rocky outcrop here. Whether they can see down onto me and I can't see up onto the outcrop to see them may well be a possibility. But let's do a little bit of exploring. Ah, no, there it is. I see them. So let's go. One of our units has lost momentum, so we'll reactivate that. Want to gain as much speed as possible. We'll go for this central one. I'm probably not going to activate charge because I want to clear. Just activate it on those units. We'll go straight into frenzy mode. Since they have no attack, so lowering our melee defense doesn't really matter for us. Let's get the other one, try and get the rest of the units. We'll pull a unit back to go straight for these. That was quite effective. Push on to this last artillery unit. Let's have a look at our scores. We're looking pretty good at the moment, ranking fairly high in the game. So crush this last artillery unit. We've also got one of our units is engaging these spearmen. It would be better if these AFK archers over there weren't firing at us because they're doing far more damage than good. Finish off these remainder units. We'll do a kick just in case we can hurt anyone, which we did. Excellent. So what have the enemy got left? A few cavalry and a few infantry. So let's head over this direction, see if we can get involved in a fight with these cavalry over here. Should be good. We're going to activate the charge now as we're getting close enough. There we go. Yes, good hit there. Good hit. We'll activate frenzy and we should be able to activate kick now, which we did about 1,000 damage. It's a really good little trait these cavalry have, is the mounted kick. Just adds the extra sort of 1,000 spot damage. Just quite good, quite effective against enemy units. There we go, they've routed and broken. There we go, 2 more enemy cavalry units to go. He's sort of broken off and left one on its own. Just kill that guy. Okay, let's onwards and after these last few enemy cavalry. We'll activate momentum to try and gain the extra bit of speed we need. He's accepted his defeat, I think. And they've routed it already. Didn't last very long. I'm not sure what we've got left. We're going to capture the enemy base. I think that was all in all a pretty good game. Hope sort of gives an idea of how the Brigands can be played as that sort of flanking force. Trying to get round, trying to target the archers. I made a mistake as you saw at the beginning of the game there. Where I charged too far in to try and get the archers. And the enemy cavalry were able to come back down. And that meant the archers were able to get fire on me without me being able to push them. But thankfully some of our allied cavalry were able to exploit the cluster of archers being together. And that meant we were able to do quite well. So let's have a quick look at the scores. Since we've had the 2.3 update, I don't think we can see how many people we've killed anymore, which is kind of a shame. But we scored very highly on aggression. I think Pistol 007 was the player who managed to do very well and get round and hit that initial group of archers. I think the enemy made quite the mistake in having so many archers sort of all stood together with no melee support. It made it very easy for cavalry to take advantage of them. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. It sort of gives you a little bit of a snippet of what the Brigands are like. They are pretty good units. I'm enjoying them so far. I'm enjoying them being sort of slightly better melee fighters compared to some of the sort of lower tier barbarian units. So if you've enjoyed this video, please like, comment, subscribe, all the good stuff. Thanks guys. I'll see you on the next one.